Good morning, Ray, visitors and colleagues. We will be talking today about our journey that our school will be undertaking over the next few years to implement many elements of the developmental management approach. Helen will be talking about the school profile and background and the beginning. My presentation will be on the merge, where we're at now, and Helen will be talking about moving forward, the future, and I would just like to present my personal journey. Okay, Helen.
Take your stuff, thanks. Okie doke. Our school community is profiled by the Broadmeadows Neighbourhood Renewal Project as one of high needs and social isolation, reflecting the low socio-economic and high cultural diversity of the Broadmeadows neighbourhood. Approximately 92% of our school families are on EMA. Our SFO index is 0.86, and the cultural language background is extremely diverse, with 75% of our students speaking languages and dialects that are Indigenous, Cook Island, Maori, Samoan, Turkish, Lebanese, Iraq, Kurdish, Assyrian, Tamil, Dari, Hindi, Sinhalese, Urdu, Hmong, Vietnamese, Malay, Tagalog, Filipino, Cantonese, Chinese, Somali, Indonesian, Portugal and Spanish. Quite a lot. So there are a myriad of challenges facing our families, which are increased by the isolation, by the socioeconomic factors and the low educational backgrounds. We are a part of the Regeneration Project. Our two schools that are merging are Meadowbank and Camp Meadows primary schools. We're combining to make a total of 296 students, and we merged on paper at the beginning of 2009, but we actually physically came together on the Camp Meadows site at the beginning of term 3, whilst awaiting our purpose-built new facility. Nothing? Okay, good. Put you in charge of the control if you like. Now, our student welfare issues have existed in both our schools for as long as the schools themselves have existed. And as a result, we have been trying many and varied approaches for over 50 years, you could say. Our committed staff have worked diligently over and beyond the requirements of our craft to provide for these children and their families educational and experience-based opportunities by aligning ourselves to organisations and bringing partnerships into our schools. These partnerships have been formed with organisations as diverse as the cultures that we teach of our families. Now, the health and well-being of our families... Oh, yeah, do you want to do it? Yeah, just let it come through. The health and well-being of our families has been improved by our partnerships with Vic Health, Melbourne City Mission, Broadmeadows Uniting Care, Dianella Community Health Services, Anglicare Victoria, VicSeg, and the Royal Children's Hospital program of Cassia. And the partnerships in our school that provides learning experiences and are linked to the VALs are those that we have with the City of Hume, Music Aviva, Song Room, Variety, the Children's Charity, and currently we are piloting a string program with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. Now, this program mirrors another very successful program that is occurring in Venezuela, which targets the poorest students in that country and provides them with classical music tuition and instruments, successfully providing an alternative to the violence and drug culture that's prevalent amongst the youths of that community. These are but a few of the opportunities that we are bringing to our students and families. And our school has been a feature of the partnerships have been featured in many publications, some of which with the University of Melbourne and the research going on there. Next. Now, we are two campuses, but we are operating as two separate entities. This is pre this year. Our approaches to discipline and welfare in the classroom and in the yard differed considerably. Some classrooms had rules, others did not. Although in theory both schools went through the Quality Startup program at the beginning of each year, it was evident that different teachers dealt with similar behaviour issues differently. There was no one common approach. There was no alignment in the behaviour and the philosophy. The data via surveys was telling us from both schools that student safety was an issue outside in the playground and to only a slighter extent inside the classroom. Although both schools had particularly difficult cohorts of students, there were enough students in each year level to significantly impact the learning that should have been going on in the classrooms. And up until the end of 2007, it was our senior leadership team that dealt with the serious cases. And it was the classroom teachers that dealt with the minor misdemeanours, issuing the detentions and the threats. Now, after listening to Ray, reading the book, we knew it was time for a change. The situation was dire in 2008. Both campuses needed to appoint someone outside the classroom to help. At Meadowbank, we had a full-time teacher in the role of student welfare officer, and at Camp Meadows there was a part-time welfare officer. Now at this point, one of the main priorities was the absenteeism. At that point they were averaging 20 days per student, and by the end of 2008 they had dropped it to 13. But what was happening was, in no time at all, the Meadowbank welfare teacher was continually being called over to the Camp Meadows site to deal with critical behaviour issues, as her particular gift to the program was her ability to call in parents who would rarely set foot in a school setting, involve them and challenge them in the behaviour management plans for their children. And it was around about this time that Ray visited one of the sites, it was the Camp Meadows site, and made many recommendations, but one of which was to visibly display the rights-based philosophy, so to have the symbols, not the writing, the symbols, so that all the children down to Prep 1 could actually understand. So it was the right to be safe, the right to be learned, and as teachers we were also using, we have the right to teach. Now, Mary and I started taking the professional development sessions with the staff, and we needed the staff to get on board. But to do that, they needed to see the value in the approach that we wanted to implement, so we created lots of opportunities for conversations. We needed to move from where we were. We needed to analyse what was currently happening. So we asked the staff which students were giving them most cause for concern. What were the key influences in the behaviour of these students, and how did they feel when they were dealing with these students? We asked the staff to reflect on themselves. You know, to what extent were they focusing simply on punishment, on using positive approaches, on actually shaping the children's behaviour, on catering to the diverse learning styles that were actually in the learning units, to developing the attitudes and values within their children, and to what extent as teachers did they understand the underlying emotional causes that were resulting in the bad behaviour the children were exhibiting. And the discussions were what's working and what can we try. We needed a change in the current culture, but we needed a commitment from the staff. And through workshops we facilitated lots and lots of conversations, and we tried to get the teaching and non-teaching staff to discuss and have a sense of shared responsibility for supporting and learning from one another. We wanted them to feel free to use lots of creativity in their teaching to re-engage the C's and D's, and we emphasised the need for all staff to establish relationships with their students. They were encouraged to bring their personal as well as their professional selves in the classroom, into the yard and into the school. It was crucial because as a staff we were also facing problems establishing relationships with one another, and that was causing a great deal of discontent on many levels.